Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 13 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Late Riser and Pras. Disappointing weekend at the cricket. I'm hoping talking to the lads can cheer me up. How's the break been, Pras?
Disappointing, like you said. Was looking forward to the final, and yeah, things didn't work out. And obviously, when you come on a public forum, you have to say things like, well played, Australia, good game, good tournament. But internally, it was a lot of pain. But yeah, we move on.
Right. Guys, I'm just getting, I'm just going to have to start the stream really quick. I'm getting an error. It's an OBS new version. I'm going to change some settings. I'll be back. Let's fix it right. Can you guys see the mirror image? I think we should be fine. I'll give the catch a second to catch up. It still says encoding overload strangely. Yep, but it's still giving an error. I think now we are stable. I don't see any drop frames. I think now we are good. Let's just give the chat a second. Yes, we're stable now.
Excellent. Okay. Just like the Indian team, where we've just managed, but we'll see if we survive.
Yes, so go on, Pras. You're telling us you had a lot of people over yesterday for the cricket.
Yeah, it was like one of those things, right? I mean, first final, and actually, incidentally, the last final that we won, 2012, we had a similar thing, right? I had friends over. Obviously, that one went much better. So, no, it was just one of those things. I mean, I think the expectations were so high that the drop was also going to be higher if we didn't win. So that's what happened.
What about you, Alal? I saw you at a big gathering. Looked like a movie theater.
Yeah, it was like the stadium, but just looking at our gloomy faces, I think that tells a story. I think we're still residing in Heartbreak Hotel, still not checked out of there. But hopefully, this conversation talking about FPL gets out of. The thing is, right? It's not even that we lost and all of that, right? It's the nature of the tournament, and Rohit, Kohli, Shami, they played out of their skins. And the thing is, you don't know if they're going to get another chance to win the cup, right? It's almost like what would have happened if Sachin didn't get to win the trophy back in 2011. That's what you feel bad about. If they were about 25, 27, 28 and had another World Cup in front of them, I don't think I'd feel that bad, because I would be like this. But now it's like a rebuild phase, right? Now I'm expecting some young guns to come back into the team. So that's what makes me upset. But I had the pleasure of watching Dhoni's shot back in 2011. I was in the stadium to watch us live that World Cup. So there's a bucket list check right there.
Oh, well, that's gone. We have FPL to look forward to. How was your game week going into the international break?
You tell us.
Yeah, I know. Nice way to just bring up, by the way, guys.
Why not?
I had a 90+ game week. You tell us, man.
Why not, man? It was the best game week rank of the season. I think out of 150k game week rank, Simikas came through. I had to play him because of my rest of my defenses. I had Botman and Kabore on the bench. So no really option other than to play Simikas. Did Madison to Saka. Not that impressed with Saka, but at least got some return over there. But yeah, it was mainly Salah, Haaland, Cap, Saka coming through. Porto was on 12 points right till the end, but that Sarabia touch and goal, beautiful, man. Once that happens, you can't really complain. Such good skill over there. But yeah,
That
What
game
rank is
feels
sitting on now, Zoph?
383k.
Nice jump. And that jump came, I just want to understand what kind of jump, from where to where did it jump?
I don't remember. I think it was around 600 or 700.
Nice. So one good week and you're halving your rank at the moment is what it looks like.
That's pretty much it. The ranks are still very congested. I think you guys also like what, just 15, 20 behind. It's just like one haul.
Yeah. And there's so much movement happening every week, right, at the moment. So yeah. Pras, how do you feel about Simika's Gate?
Simika's Gate, I think people missed the reason why some people sold. I think there were many people like, I think yourself and myself, where we had no transfers to make. And so we were debating who should we get rid of? Should we get rid of, your cash a week early before Fulham? Or should you just basically look at someone like a Tsimikas, and an opportunity called Livramento or Lascelles emerged? And some people said, look, instead of burning a transfer, let me just go there, because you don't expect a lot of points against Brentford. And in classic FPL style, it backfires in the worst possible way. Livramento doesn't start. There's an injury to Almiron, and then you think, okay, now I'm going to get a right winger. He doesn't come on still. And then he makes it at halftime, gets a 0-pointer. And in the other side, Tsimikas gets 15-pointer. I actually don't regret the move at all, because we'll come to scheduling and everything else. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It didn't really bother me. And I think probably because I had a green arrow. So I feel like if you have a really terrible week and on top of that something like this goes on, it maybe affects you a little more. But I was sitting on a green. I was always going to make this decision, and it was my own decision, right? I think that's what just helps me keep calm. It doesn't really bother me. Is where I am. So yeah. At least I'm sitting in the 1 million now. I'm happy. Like I've been moving outside the top 1 million for a while now. So that got me from 1.2 to 850 odd K. Hoping to consolidate in the December period.
Yep. We still don't know if Tsimikas was first choice. He got in there only because of Gomez's injury. But it was interesting. I thought the general feeling in the community, we had sort of assumed that Tsimikas was going to get dropped primarily because he missed the Luton game and then he was subbed off midweek. I think we have to take some lesson from that, is not to assume certain things going into these, because we don't have a direct line to the managers unless certain content creators do.
To be fair though, the assumption in terms of at least my reasoning, I'm pretty sure Pras's reasoning is that Tsimikas was, with the incoming December schedule, no longer a nailed on pick. Like that was the reason where if you didn't have any other better move to make is what we thought.
Is Livramento a nailed on pick in that sense? Isn't a bit of frying pan into fire, a little bit less warm fire? But even with Livramento, do you feel comfortable now?
Yeah, I do feel comfortable. I think Hall didn't really do much in that game. And I just think Livramento is quite significantly the better player. I spoke to a few Newcastle fans, was reading a few articles. And in general, I rate Livramento as a player as well. I saw that there was upside, maybe that he might get 15, 20 minutes as a winger even. But, maybe Eddie Howe was listening to some old school music, playing Miley, Richie, all these guys. So, that's what happened. Hopefully things change.
I mean, I repeat the point that if we had only one free transfer, we would have rolled 100%. I don't think there is any. So to go Frank Pine to fire is, or whatever. Yeah, it was there. It's a risky player to risky player, but you are still carrying 2 free transfers into the international break. So I didn't think it was worth it. Now, if people did the move with only 1 free transfer or for hits, I think they would regret it a lot more. I think for my case, if I think that Tsimikas is fine, I could even get him back for cash, not this week, but the week after Man City. So he's a cheap player. It was a transfer that was there. If Livramento becomes nailed, Newcastle defense is way better than Liverpool defense, and both are reasonably attacking. So I don't mind it, and it was like a free hit in that sense of a free hit transfer.
Yeah, Pras likes.
Not sure about way better now. Like both are trending sort of towards a convergent point at the moment, especially Van Dijk's been good in the past month or so. Liverpool have generally become a pretty stable team. That they did concede a fair amount of XG to Brentford, but I like the way Liverpool are trending.
Fair.
You think they're going to run City close this season?
They look the second best team again after a long time, but whether that is because they are looking better or is Arsenal not sort of hitting the heights of last year? But I think it's between the three of them. And at the moment, I do think that Liverpool will be second. Will they let City close? I don't think so. I think City has got it by about 8-10 points this year.
The AFCON period will be big. Not just the AFCON. We saw Salah had a bit of a drop off right after the AFCON also last year. So that will be interesting, I think, that time.
Yeah, it will. Before we move on to the sponsor plugs, there's a fair few guys watching us. We really, really appreciate you guys have been tremendous in showing your support to us throughout the years. Just a nice like and subscribe button. We're gloomy anyway after the loss against Australia. Congratulations to Australia, by the way. I mean, I will say one thing though. This Australian team isn't as dislikable as the previous Australian team. Like I've seen both seasons of the test also on Amazon, which talks about the journey of these players. They're all really nice blokes. They're all really likable guys. I don't really hate them. And Australia's like the Real Madrid, right? They just know how to win cups when it comes to cricket. So yeah, congratulations to them. You all outplayed us, and that's that.
That's what it is. Deserved winners, and congratulations to all our Australian viewers and supporters.
Yeah.
Let's start then with a sponsor plug.
Yep. Right. All the stats on this podcast are from the fantasy football members area. There's some really nice articles coming out with regards to the fixture schedule. Some of the charts we'll share on this podcast as well. So, we keep saying if you aren't a member already, we keep saying it's not because just the members area, it's because of the articles that come along with it as well. Do click on the link in the description below. If you are going to be a member, then clicking on the link here sort of helps us. So if you want to show your support, just click on the link in the description below. We'd be grateful.
Right. Plus, the Nord plug is yours today.
Yep, and we've also partnered with NordVPN. So if you're bored with your streaming libraries that are available in your country, then you can expand your selection by using NordVPN. And there's about 5,000 plus server options available, and no content is out of your reach. It's also a big deal in terms of privacy. So Nord keeps your data encrypted and your IP address hidden so that there is complete privacy when you browse the internet. And they've got a threat protection feature as well. So you don't have to sort of go into intrusive websites, ads, or malware. And if you sign up using our creator code, which is nordvpn.com/FPL Wire, you get a big discount off your NordVPN plan and 4 additional months for free. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. Sorry if I wasn't as smooth as Zoph.
I was just about to say, Pras, I think you should do this every week now.
No. I think you're good. Get better soon next week.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I have a bit of a sore throat. If I randomly cough, please do excuse me for that. Let's get
Who were you shouting at yesterday because of which the sore throat has happened?
It was when we had got the first few wickets, man. It actually looked like we had a glimmer of hope. But yeah, let's stop talking about it now. Let's move on.
Good. So we thought we'd dive into the fixture schedule first in terms of what we're looking at, what are sort of the red flags that are emerging in the congested Christmas schedule. Zoph, you did a really nice article pointing out things that came to my attention. Why don't you talk about the main points or some of the red flags, since you two are the scheduling experts?
Right. So I'll just walk you guys through the schedule overview. Plus, possibly will give you more in a detailed thing. So what I noticed was that 3 teams that are basically screwed, who are in the European games as well as the Carabao Cup. That's West Ham, Liverpool, and Newcastle. These 3 teams now don't have a free midweek until January. You have either cup competition even in the free midweek. So these 3 teams, the thing with Newcastle now, they're the only one who are not really secure in the European group. You can expect Liverpool and West Ham to possibly rotate. So if you have Newcastle players, it's something really worrying given all the injuries, etc. they have. So essentially, there are 2 sets of midweek fixtures. It isn't as bad as we have seen previous years with certain teams playing in 24 hours, like 24th and 26th. We've seen that in previous campaigns. So that the first set of midweek fixtures is between game week 14 to 16. So game week 14, 15, 16 is in the space of 7 to 8 days. Most teams play over 7 days or 8 days, but a few teams, I think Liverpool and a couple of others you had mentioned, Pras, Liverpool and Brighton, they play over 6 days.
And Villa.
So these guys play 3 games over 6 days. So usually that's the Sunday, Saturday turnaround. Then you have the next batch, which is right around Christmas, and there's big scattering of different rest times. You have Brighton, who have very long rest periods. You have Chelsea and Wolves. As you can see in the image, it's red between like the games over there. So they play 3 games in 6 to 7 days. That's really worrying over there. This chart is again by Lego Mane. _FPL. Do give him a follow. So the schedule is bad for certain teams, but it isn't that bad, I think. What are your guys' thoughts initially?
I mean, I think from my perspective, you've covered the main parts. I just think people need to spend some time on this in terms of your players. If you think there are minutes risk, spend a little deeper time in terms of if it's a Saturday, if it's a Sunday midweek Saturday schedule, managers hate that. Everybody has said it. Klopp has said it. Guardiola has said it. So, maybe for Liverpool, Brighton, Aston Villa, there's also actually Bournemouth in that and Crystal Palace. So these are the five teams that have this turnaround. Have a look at their travel times. Try to sort of, you need to make your best guesses on expected minutes. It's not going to be easy during this period. You need to expect some benchings. You need to expect some no-shows, maybe even injuries. So that's the idea. I think people just need to get a little bit smarter on what's coming ahead. And 14, 15, 16 definitely is going to see little bit of rotation and some of your usage of your bench, surprisingly.
What do you think is our
And also
FPL
one
impact
thing,
going for? Yeah, I was asking you, what do you think is going to be the FPL impact? How do we adapt to this?
so there are different kinds of teams, right? And different kind of squads and how managers like to play their competition. Now, for Liverpool, for example, they've got the luxury of 5 forwards that they can rotate through. So I'm definitely expecting some sort of minutes management happening there, which might not be the case with maybe an Aston Villa and Ollie Watkins, where they don't really have a replaceable asset for a player like Watkins. So we might not see as much rotation for teams like this, especially because Aston Villa, those 7 games, 3 games in 6 days are the game week 15 and game week 16 are home games against Manchester City and Arsenal. So you in fact even think where Arsenal may be traveling to Villa Stadium in game week 16, Villa have a short turnaround time. So maybe you don't perceive that as a very tough fixture for your Arsenal attackers. Those are the kind of permutations and combinations you need to make. See, and right now it's not very early, but it's a little early to predict what the minutes management is going to be in the 14 to 16 period. Now, a lot of us, like Pras mentioned, last week we were sitting on the luxury of having 2 free transfers. We are still sitting on 2 free transfers. It wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe just use one transfer right now, react to the minutes that happen between the 14 to 16 period, and then make transfers based on minutes, expected starts for your players, etc., so that you can try capitalizing on the minutes in that tight, congested schedule. Brighton at the moment are just a non-conversation for me from an FPL point of view. It's like the pop of girls. You combine Roberto De Zerbi and a congested schedule, and what you get? Chemical X. Chemical X is basically they're not an FPL option at the moment.
I've never watched. I don't know these. I don't know. Zoph is smiling.
No, man, it is a classic. It's a classic.
No, but
So,
yeah,
yeah.
point taken. Point taken.
And again, you don't need to worry about somebody like a Bournemouth. If you're looking at Solanke, who I think is a fabulous pick for the next 6, 7, 8 game weeks, don't need to worry about the congested schedule as much, again, because replaceable assets. What you might see is some adjustments in terms of, early subs or something of that sort. But outside of that, I wouldn't worry too much.
There's something else I wanted to point it out. What's interesting now in terms of the schedule for the next 4 to 5 weeks, all the teams having good fixtures are teams from the bottom end of the table. Your Bournemouth, Burnley, Sheffield United, Wolves. So it's a bit of a fixtures versus form period we are entering into, right? And for example, Watkins. You look at the schedule over here. His schedule is tough, but we know the X minutes are going to be consistent over this period. So that makes me lean towards holding him. Similar for Son. Today, I know he's going to play every game, every minute. Certain players I'm now holding on to despite having a difficult schedule purely because of X minutes. Do you think that makes sense?
100%. I mean, this is the time where if you have a choice of a 50-50 between a player, let's take Darwin versus Watkins. It's actually a very good example. Similar priced. I mean, I know Watkins risen a little bit. Let's say they were both 8 million. Both are explosive. But in this period, if you think Darwin has slightly better fixtures, you could still logically say, I'm going to go with Watkins because I'm going to get 90, 90, 80, maybe a 70. But with Darwin, there's going to be one benching. But that doesn't mean you have to sell Darwin. It means you have to say he has to do more in 70 minutes less than a Watkins, which you may or may not have the view of, but that's certainly a consideration.
Also, a couple of other FPL impacts, of the December schedule. Is it, you think, more sensible to go for centre backs over wing backs in such a tight schedule because they tend to play irrespective. What are your thoughts on that? Like somebody like a Saliba becomes a much more reasonable, secure pick compared to somebody who's going to get rotated as a wing back. Do you think that's an option? Do you think it's a factor you have in mind? And do you think having an eighth attacker, having a strong fourth defender so that you can rotate around and play with your squad is something that will help? And I don't think playing with your squad is something that's going to help primarily because I expect players to get rotated, subbed on anyway. But it gives you the flexibility to play on with if, okay, this player was rested the last game, I can definitely start him this game.
So I'm not picking on your transfer, but then again, I go back to the Lascelles versus Livramento thing. If I was making a transfer for a Newcastle defender, I would have probably gone for Lascelles for this reason. So what was the reasoning there for backing Livramento?
Botman's fit.
He's not fit yet. Don't get me excited yet. He's just running on the grass. He's nowhere near fitness yet.
No, but the murmurs are that he could be a week or two. And I actually spent a lot of time on the forums, looked into the reports. And in no particular report did it rule out that Botman might not be back after the international break. So there was very, very good chance of Botman coming. In my opinion, I was assuming that there's a decent chance Lascelles could be a dead pick by the time Gameweek 15 comes.
That's fair.
And I didn't want to take that chance for a guy that has a lower upside compared to Livramento's potential to play 15 minutes as a winger, as well as I just think he's a great player.
Same, exactly same. I was actually thinking game week 18 more, where you'll actually need that player because of the blank. So I was thinking, I know that Burn is out that period, and I don't know if Botman will be out in that period. So that was the thinking.
Got it. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of the schedule?
I mean, do you think eighth attacker matters? Do you think fourth strong defender matters in this schedule? What are your thoughts on the couple of
We
points?
have so many gifts. Archer, I mean, he's almost top of the table. So, I mean, a lot of people will be debating playing Archer this week. I mean, but, Burnley is also, top 3 in the table. They have a great fixture next week. So I think we have so many options that you don't have to do it. But if somebody comes up with for example, I was debating in my structure to have a Solanke as a third striker. And if you have him, it's just that the rotation doesn't work that well with Palmer and with Watkins and others. So I don't think I'll do it, but I can see people going there. I don't think we live in a season where even though you have Salah and you have Haaland, you can still have 8 attackers because, Palmer exists, Gordon exists. You have the cheap Newcastle defenders, at least till the time that they're nailed, they exist. So it's incredible. So if you wanted to play around that, you can, but you just have to sort of think about, is there going to be a week where all 8 of my attackers are going to have beautiful fixtures? And if there's more than one of such week, then you're just giving yourself pain of benchings in the future and hoping for a no-show or something.
Yeah. I think it's more important to have a playing fourth defender because I keep feeling the attackers are going to get subbed on. With defenders, it feels less likely, right? Even if you see Gabriel getting rotated the odd game. Same thing, the guys, like let's say if Saka does get benched, he's always going to come on in the end. We've seen that even with 10-15 minutes left, managers get the attackers on. So I think defensive depth is a slightly bit more important than the 8th attacker.
Yeah. And Pras, I think this is a good time for us to zoom out a little bit and pull out the old helicopter view because this is still Game Week 20. But I think it's a good time to consider your transfers, keeping in mind what might happen in Game Week 21 to 24 as well. Neil wrote a fabulous article on Scout, which you can read if you're a member. Click on the link in the description below. Why don't you tell our listeners what they have upcoming in 21 to 24 as well?
So look, the article basically gives us a better clarity on the dates for AFCON and Asia Cup. And AFCON is important because the best asset in the game, Imbumo, is away for AFCON and Salah is going as well. Obviously, I'm kidding. But yeah, both of them are going. And in Asia Cup, Son will be going and Mitoma. And there's a whole list. So by the way, in the article for every club, who are the players that might be leaving and, their potential dates that they're out. So this chart that you see here, again, part of the article, so thank you, Neil, is showing us what happens in which period. So Game Week 21, people will remember 2 years ago, there used to be a winter break concept in the Premier League. Last year, because of various things, because of the Queen's passing, they basically utilized those slots. So we didn't actually see a winter break. So we'll have that again. So that actually helps the players on AFCON because Game Week 21 is a very, very extended game week. And then it depends on where you think this team will go in the AFCON. So if Salah is out of the group stages, he's missing one game week only, or anybody else. But if you expect Egypt to basically go until the final, he could miss up to game week 24. So not much more to say on this, with its very early days, but you need to know that there's a high likelihood that in game week 20, you'll be sitting with a Salah, with a Son, with an Mbumo, and possibly other players that could be going away. And you need to think about, A, do you want them? So I think the only one, Salah and Son speak for themselves. But in Mbumo's case, you could be debating, should I get him? He's going to blank in game week 18. He's going to go off to AFCON in game week 21. So why am I bothering? Well, the answer is he made double in game week 20. And his double includes Man City. So these are things you need to think about if you're going for players like these. And this is just an early heads up.
Yeah. Also, just to point out, Neil said that sometimes the players are called a little earlier than game week 21, and he did mention that there is a slight chance that if Bumo has a double in game week 20, he might miss one game of the double as well. So just small factors you consider in your moves. We're still going to get Bumo next week. He's a nailed on transfer in, but keep that in mind. And just a couple of things I want to add. Teams that are massively affected in terms of strength from the AFCON. Brentford is definitely one of them, because both Wissa as well as Bumo are going to be going. Spurs is one, because Son as well as Bissouma are going to be going. So you need to watch out for them. And teams that are not affected at all by AFCON: Villa, Newcastle, Man City. Just wanted to add that.
Chelsea, I think Chelsea, we have Jackson who's going.
Yeah, Chelsea have Jackson that's going. And Cuckoo is going to be fit and firing by that time
so it's
anyway.
not too bad.
Yeah. Same for Arsenal. I don't think, except for Thomas Partey and Tomiyasu, they have anyone in their first team setup going to AFCON either.
Yep. Liverpool again, I think it's just Salah.
It's just Salah.
But you also think they can cope. I think this is probably the best front three that can cope without Salah, I think, in recent times.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because there's enough volume. As long as those players stay fit, you're fine.
Correct.
It's going to be a fun time, because there's going to be a lot of money flying around. Because there's Salah money gone, Son money gone. Some people may choose to just take a punt and hold on. Like for Son, that South Korea is going to go far in the Asia Cup. So maybe, or you look at group stages closer to the time, people will start seeing spread odds. Should I hold my player because he'll be out of the group stages or not? So it's going to be a very interesting time. And then there'll be many, many picks that will become available as a byproduct of these players being out.
Speaking of Son, I think it's a good segue into discussing midfielders, because I think we have more good picks than we can choose from that midfield. And a lot of people are thinking about what to do, which way to move, etc. So if we can have the fixture schedule, because I think that just having that in front of us and just going through some midfield picks might be a good idea at the moment. I mean, very selfishly, I want to start with Heung-min Son and wanted to listen to what you guys have to say. They didn't really play well against Wolves. Son had 0.1 XG or something of that sort. But do you take anything away from that game in terms of quality? We know Rodrigo Bentancur is going to be back. Lo Celso probably is going to be playing as an advanced 8. Bissouma is suspended for the game against Aston Villa, which is a big blow. They're still going to be missing the spine in terms of Maddison, Bissouma, and the two centre-backs. What's your read? Do you buy Son now? Do you buy him after 2 game weeks? Do you buy him at all? Because some people are thinking of selling him as well. Where are you at with Heung-min Son?
So let's talk about that Wolves game, right? I think first of all, we have to acknowledge that game state played a part. The fact that Spurs scored early away from home, this sort of went into the shell a little bit after that, didn't really attack as much. Secondly, I think they played a very defensive lineup with all the 3 midfielders, sort of defensive guys. You didn't play your Bentancur, your Lo Celso, the forward thinking guy. Number 3, I think Wolves are very good at isolating the centre forward. Even in a machine like Man City, Haaland didn't have a single shot against Wolves. So we have to take all these things into consideration. But that being said, it is definitely going to have some sort of effect. The lack of a player as good as Maddison means the service to Son will be affected, but the service will keep coming from the other guys. It still won't be as frequent. We saw Porro taking on a more attacking role and more creative role, so he might benefit a bit from that. He was taking set pieces, and I think the next game you have a suspension. I think one of the guys, I think Bissouma is suspended.
Bissouma suspended.
So again, you probably have Højbjerg playing deeper. He'll bring in Lo Celso or Bentancur. And I still think they'll do well, but there is something in terms of tempering expectations. The fixtures now are a bit mixed, right? Villa, we think, is a good game. He could attack that high line. Man City away, always tough, but they have traditionally been Spurs, the guy they always pick on. So in West Ham, again, a deep block. Newcastle, good defense.
West Ham are a rubbish defense. I like West Ham is a good game. Like I don't think our
It is, but
perception needs
it's
to
a
change.
sort of game that West Ham like, right? They can afford to just park 10 men behind the ball and play on the counter.
But they are not doing that this season, Zoph. I think that perception shift when it comes to West Ham specifically needs to happen because there's not many people behind the ball. They're not really doing a very well executed deep block. There's gaps in and around that West Ham team throughout.
They're still trying, though.
it's
I
an-
still remember the Brighton game. I
was
think
gonna
it's
say the
how they
Brighton game as
play
well.
against Brighton is how they'll set up against Spurs, right? Because we've seen that Spurs leave so much space on the counter for the runners, very similar to Brighton. Anything you were saying, Pras? Something else?
No, I was going to agree with you. I was going to say that Brighton game is sort of so largely, I think most of the season, Moyes has been a little bit more free flowing than we remember him. But against Brighton, they executed exactly that, the deep block and the long balls.
But I was looking because Son's the biggest decision I have this week, and I was looking at the fixtures, and they feel like good fixtures to me still. I just want to assess whether Spurs will improve the level. Do I chance because Aston Villa is just a tailor-made fixture for him. Like they don't really need to do much for Son to get a double return in that game. Even if Aston Villa really play, the high line is just tailor-made. It's designed for Heung-min Son. So that's the worry I have. And it's a tough decision because I need to sell big players, somebody like a Saka to get a Son in at this moment. And it's a question I'm really debating. Even West Ham, right? Traditionally, when you think about Spurs, West Ham, you're thinking about really high-scoring games. Traditionally, they tend to be really high-scoring games amongst each other because it's a London derby as well. So yeah, I'm in a dilemma.
It's all relative. That's it. I think you've hit the nail on the head. So answer is yes, Son is impacted somewhat, but for me, he's still the third best asset in the game at the moment after Haaland and Salah. So question is, and penalties play with our perception so much. Like people now, because of underlying data, they like Palmer, but actually it's also because of him getting penalties that they think, oh, this guy has got a lot of FPL points. So Son has got good FPL points. He's got hauls, but zero penalties. And when Maddison isn't on the pitch, now I don't think there's any doubt that he takes the pen if they get the pen. So my counter to this is you've got a guy playing striker for an attacking team who will not be as attacking, but it's still, I would still categorize them as one of a top 4 attacking side in terms of their attacking intent and capability. With missing their main guy. I mean, Maddison is a big loss. I don't want to underplay that. But he's still a good player, man. And he's on penalties. He's going to play. He's playing 80, 90 minutes now even because it looks like his injuries are beyond him. So then the question is Son a good pick? I think he's still a very, very good pick. A top 3, if not a top 5, let's say, if you had Trippier in your mind as well. Then the question is Saka. If you're selling Saka to get him, that's a different question because Saka is also a top 5 pick. If you were selling somebody else who's more of a rotation risk, who you're not having the same conviction on, then that's a different question. So is your route to Son only Saka or can you do something else is the question.
The moment it's Saka or getting
I
rid
would
of
sell Saka.
Yeah, that's where I am. It's the thinking. And I feel nervous because I wish the City game was first because Villa's tailor-made for Son. On that note though, Spurs haven't. The thing is, you don't really need Son to get that much XG because he's that good a finisher. But Spurs in the last 6 games are sitting 11th for XG. And 1 out of the 6 games was without Maddison and the 2 centre backs as well. So it's not like they're pulling up trees with regards to their attacking numbers either, right? So, but there's so much risk betting against a Heung-min Son who's got in my head, a good run of fixtures. Let's see.
They got 12 big chances over the last 6 games. Now, assuming they get a similar number, you'd expect at least 8 of these to fall to Son. 66%, fair number.
Yeah.
I think if you have him, it's an easy hold. If you can't get to him, though, I wouldn't necessarily break things to do that.
Question. Yeah, because you also have sort of the comfortable blanket of City next week. And you, in your head, tell yourself 2 weeks to assess what's happening with Spurs and come back again.
Correct.
Yeah.
And by the way, the good thing is Haaland hauled. So he's going to be most captain this week. Even though I think Son, if he had got even 1 return, then Son would have been the most captain
As much
this
as
week. But I
returns,
don't
but
think he
also
will.
the performance, right? The
Yeah,
fact that the
combination.
ultimately no XG, etc., the Madison thing means it will take away a lot from his captaincy. We will talk about Haaland a little bit later. There's a lot of injury doubts, lot of players who have pulled out. We'll go case by case on what we expect to happen. But let's talk more about the midfielders.
I mean, it's fairly clear for me that if you don't own these three names, they're the top targets for me in midfield at the moment. Number one is Jared Bowen, given hopefully that he's fit. The news is that he's pulled out of the England squad for the second game, but Southgate mentioned in his press conference that they didn't have enough time to assess him. He doesn't think it's going to be anything big. Now we don't know whether Merce is going to be honest come Friday. But that's something you determine after the Friday press conference. But if he gets a green take, like I think he's a good captaincy option this week against Burnley.
There's something I want to talk about that though. Now the fact that we must mention that Mikel Antonio pulled up his hamstring while on duty with Jamaica, so we now expect Bowen to be the centre forward. He started there against Forest, where he had one shot, which he scored from, and I want to mention that it was a corner. 5'9", 5'10" Bowen now is scoring from corners. It's something amazing. I never thought I'd see that, but no chances apart from that from open play, and 0.03 XA. My initial feeling still is that centre forward role is not natural to him, and I think now if you haven't got Bowen, we should possibly look at Kudus at 6.5, because Bowen's ownership now is getting at those scary levels where 50, 60, we're not really going to gain that much. I think it's a good time to jump on Kudus.
My read is Bowen. Kudus is a good pick, but I think Bowen is a superior pick, is where I am. I do agree. I prefer him if he's playing off Antonio as that left forward. But I think it was FPL Focal who pointed out that he scored 66% of West Ham's goals or something of that sort, playing as a centre forward compared to some 40% playing as a left winger. So it isn't really as bad. And when he's on it, he's just a natural goal scorer. Like whenever I'm watching West Ham's highlights, it didn't happen against Forest, but we need to know that teams like Forest and West Ham, right? They don't really like to play against each other because both of them are most comfortable sitting deep. But both of them really had to play, and that's why it didn't really suit either team as much. Whenever I'm watching West Ham, watching the highlights, he's like a ball magnet in the center of the box. Somehow, everybody else is making runs, but they seem to find Bowen's runs only. He's magnetic when it comes to the chances that he gets. And I've been wanting to get him. It was a close call for me between Martinelli and Bowen during the wildcard time as well. I got swayed by the fixtures. I just think he's number one if he's fit at the moment on my list, especially given the congested schedule that we have. And I don't really worry about minutes. With a Kudus, I think he's first choice, but sometimes you worry that maybe to rest him, Benrahma or somebody gets a game. I don't think that's going to be the case when treated with a Jared Bowen. I just think he's a perfect pick for the festive period. And in similar vein is Brian Mbeumo. I'm not too worried. If you're worried about the blank in 18 and the potential double, not double in 20 in AFCON after that, I think there's 6 game weeks of fixtures going to be dead. You're going to probably get 5 into 90 and 1 into 80 out of the games that he's allotted to play, which is probably going to be more than anybody else. And he's gone up a level. He's on penalties. The fixtures look really good in my opinion. In 14, he's almost an auto pick. I think these are the 2 names. Then you take 2 or 3 weeks to decide whether you want Palmer or if any other Chelsea asset that emerges. That's my hierarchy of players to target in midfield.
Yeah, but you've got 3 slots. Most people have 2 because they have Salah, Son, and Saka. So you have to pick between Mbeumo, Bowen, Palmer, Gordon, Diaby. You have to pick 2. Most people are doing that. So this is where Bowen becomes trickier, where if you go for a Bowen, then it's harder to fit, you couldn't maybe have Bowen and Palmer, but then how do you get Mbeumo? This is basically the problem that a lot of people are going through. And
Bowen's expensive now. He's like 7.7. So you're getting a Bowen and Mbeumo is quite expensive now. But where are you? Do you think Bowen is a captaincy option? He's had 1 double-digit return all season. That was away to Brighton. I always see him as someone who gets 1 return, but as a captaincy option. And this week, possibly again, the Burnley fixture is tempting because they're the team that West Ham like to play against. Do you think he's a captaincy option, Pras?
No chance. Not for me this week. I mean, he's a good pick. I completely agree with everything that LR is saying. But now that there's also a yellow flag, if Moyes is not 100% clear, let's say he even starts, who knows if it reoccurs? I'm not taking a chance with the guy if Son and Haaland are right there. So I think he's a very good pick. He's probably the fourth best midfielder if Price was not relevant, but Price is relevant, which is why I don't think I can get there personally. And to answer your question, captaincy, maybe he's the third, fourth best pick. So I wouldn't personally captain him.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation as you. I have Diaby and Gordon, and I have no way to get to Bowen without taking a lot of money out of my defense, which is already bare bones. So it's quite difficult. I'm looking at other alternatives, and like we mentioned, the other guys could possibly keep pace. You've been big on Eze, who has some good fixtures coming up, and Bumo, I do want to talk about, right? Again, I don't think Arsenal is the best entry point. You'll be getting him the week after. Then it's Luton, Brighton, Sheffield United, Villa, and then blank. Do you think Bumo is worth moving for in 14?
100%.
Plus,
in my opinion.
Yep.
Even for 4 weeks.
Luton,
Would you bench him in 18?
I'll bench him in 18 because there's only Haaland from City now. So benching two guys and having one dud, most people will have Archer who's playing. So, benching your fifth defender and Bumo and Haaland doesn't feel like it's a lot of sacrifice needed. But my view might change if we get to know further that he is actually missing game. Because there's also the double. I know it's Man City, that's the second double, but a double is a double. And the thing with Bumo is harder fixtures. He's almost got a hedge because he plays up top in the harder fixtures. You saw against Chelsea, the guy just randomly gets a haul. So
it's not even the harder fixtures. It's the tailor-made fixtures. It's the high-line games. Both Brighton and Villa are notorious for their high lines, which is designed for Mbumo to attack and do well with it. Brentford specialize in playing against such opposition. In fact, you might think that probably they're better than the Luton and Sheffield United games also, because they just suit a Brian Mbumo more in such a game. High line, game state dependent, one ball over the top, and he's good and he's improved. Like, I think we need to acknowledge that he's gone up a level or two this season. He isn't the same sort of middling FPL pick. He's top 2, top 3 for NP XGI. And I'm talking about NP. Like, that's his beauty as a pick at the moment. Nailed on for 90 minutes. And it's almost like a Salah light in terms of getting 2 or 3 free goals in the last 10 minutes, which you're not going to get really from many picks in this congested period.
I get your point, but like, for example, take somebody like Gordon, right? He has Luton in game week 18. So that also factors into that. You might make up those points from that. There are not many good fixtures in game week 18. I'm just looking at the ticker now. Newcastle have the good one, Forest have a good one, Fulham, Tottenham and Villa. That's about it. There's not that many great fixtures on paper that week.
For Diaby and Gordon, I think that's going to be a dilemma because both Diaby and Gordon have good game week 18 fixtures, but minutes, right? I mean, Diaby, he was taken off again 60-something minute. Do you really want that during the 14 to 16 period? Their good fixtures are out. You got points. Some of them phantom assists. Just take them, I just think in a congested period, especially when Bumo has better fixtures as well, I think the 4 points that you get out of, 4 expected points in game week 18, you ignore that because you'll play Archer instead, which is okay. So Archer versus Gordon, but then Mbumo beats Gordon or Diaby in those easy 4 fixtures and a possible double.
That makes sense. Yeah, and Gordon does have the X minutes risk as well, even with all the injuries. I do expect him to miss the odd game because they have too many competitions. Palmer will be an interesting one because I think Chelsea's schedule is a bit tight, but I just don't see him being dropped.
Yeah, he's not going to drop. I'm actually thinking about it. I probably might need to congest funds. If I'm dropping Son, get 2 of these and get 8 attackers in. Because, plus you mentioned I've got Makati. I'm sitting on a 3-4-3 at the moment with Darwin Núñez. So I have Salah, Saka, who else? Salah, Saka, Diaby and Martinelli. Am I selling Diaby for Bumo when Diaby has Bournemouth away?
Probably not next week. You're doing it in 15, I think. Under 15, again, the fixture for Bumo is Brighton. And then you have to think about it. It's only for 3 weeks. It's a bit different when as soon as you delay the transfer, you're thinking more and more about 18.
Especially if you lose Luton at home in 14.
Yeah. But I remember I said on the last pod also, we are going to think about all these permutations, combinations, and by the time Game Week 18 comes around, we're going to be sitting, wondering, it was there, it was obvious, why didn't we do it?
You'll be wanting Palmer next week, bro. Brighton at home.
I don't know. Zoph. I feel like Boomer's a better FPL pick, is where I am.
Fair enough.
That's it.
Obviously, I don't
XG,
agree.
last 6 games, top 4 XG. The boys in blue.
Absolutely. And Palmer's right up there as well. 6.25, 6.17 XGI, second only to Salah. And the numbers are actually on par with Salah, right? Same number of shots on target, 10 chances created to 12, 4 big chances created. Obviously, the XG non-penalty is nowhere close, but very good underlying numbers in general.
And he's good for bonus, Palmer. So one thing from last spot, I mean, even in that Spurs game, he was top. He was on 3
it was
bonus.
pointed out on the comments that somebody
Yeah.
corrected us that even before the assist,
He creates
was
so
on
many
the bonus.
chances. He's basically like mini Salah, if you can think of him like that. You know, basically a lot of chances created on penalties, a reasonably attacking team. If you have good fixtures,
He's
He's just-
essentially a mini De Bruyne. I think that's a perfect example. He's De Bruyne light for Man City in terms of FPL credentials. Tends to get in good positions, shooting positions, doesn't necessarily finish them always, is on pens and creates a ton of chances.
But am I right in saying of all the midfielders we've discussed, possibly Bowen is the only one who has a good entry point this week? I'm just looking at all the other guys have tough fixtures this week. You wouldn't really possibly want to be buying, I think, Palmer this week or maybe even Gordon this week.
Eze we didn't discuss. He has a good entry point this week.
Right, but the fixtures get turned really quick. I think you have Luton, West Ham, Bournemouth, then it goes Liverpool, Man City, Brighton, Chelsea, Brentford.
Correct. You get Eze for 3 weeks, then you go to Palmer. That's how you would sort of structure it if you wanted to go. It's Eze is a short-term entry.
There's also a good entry point this week for that Korean guy, Wang. Fulham, Burnley at home and Forest at home, then West Ham away. So the next 5 look pretty good for Wolves. Again, Wolves are climbing up the attacking table. I think they're sitting 7th or 8th for XG in the last 6 games, if I wasn't mistaken.
Yep,
So,
the
you know,
7th. They're at 8.87 XG. That's higher than West Ham and Everton. Ooh, we have to talk about Everton a little bit. Let's finish this topic.
Yeah.
About how that's going to
Yeah.
affect them, the point deduction. And one
Yeah.
more thing I want to point out, Wolves are second for XG conceded non-penalty, and they've had some tough games over the last
Yeah.
6. That's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, at home, they've pulled off results against City, Newcastle, Spurs, and Villa. I think that's commendable.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, just to finish this topic from my perspective, because I'm in this, for Mitoma owners, and Mitoma, I think we know is now out, or likely to be out for Game Week 13. I think most will just say, I'm just going and Boomer a week early. So it's not ideal. And in
Yeah.
my case, I actually have the money to go Bowen as well. So I could go Bowen this week and then go Boomer next week. But I think people will just go Boomer a week early and then hope that they have a good game against Arsenal.
Yeah, because there's one thing that you need to consider in this entire fixture schedule when you're thinking about planning moves and things to consider. So I've moved to the fixture ticker. Is Game Week 14 onwards. Newcastle have United home, Everton away, Spurs away, Fulham home, Luton away, Forest away. You also have to think about a certain Kieran Trippier. And if you're thinking about a Kieran Trippier, maybe you compromise on a Bowen right now, go for a low-key budget guy. Like, these are the things that you need to consider because those are good clean sheet fixtures. If you think about it and, you know, defenders when you're going shopping, yeah, you're going to think about Arsenal, Newcastle, City, Liverpool, reliable defenses at the moment. City don't really have a defender. You're worrying about them playing without John Stones. Ruben Dias was terrible against Chelsea. Spurs right now look leggy without the 2 centre backs as well. But Porro has good fixtures in 2 or 3 weeks. So if the centre backs are back, what are you buying? You're probably buying Newcastle around that run. You're thinking about buying Arsenal right now, and that would be faith in Arsenal defense compared to anything else. But in 16, 17, 18, it's Villa away, Brighton home, Liverpool away. They're not clean sheet fixtures, but you can probably rely on Arsenal being the best defense in the country in that period. Then you're looking at Newcastle because they're the ones who've got those clean sheet fixtures. What do you guys think about that? Do we plan for Trippier this early?
Schedule, man.
Which means
the schedule for Newcastle has me worried. All the injuries and everything. I wouldn't be buying Trippier right now.
you would swab him again.
That's over.
There's also a personal issue thing. He's also left England, so watch that as well. But I think longer term, your question, I think I would like to have him back. I mean, that was always the plan. But the problem is, if you look at this long-term ticker, then after Liverpool here in 20, the next one is Man City. So they have 3 great fixtures, Fulham, Luton and Nottingham Forest in 17, 18, 19. But before and after, they've got not ideal. Spurs, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City in this same 9 game week block. So again, it's Newcastle. They're great. They're great defensively, but the wheels are sort of a little bit shaky now with injuries. I mean, anybody would be, right, with the amount of minutes that they're playing, the number of injuries that they're getting. It's just one to watch if he's worth that value. And for me personally, I'm happy to wait till game week 16, 17, and then see.
17 is a
if
good time to assess that. You're right. Yeah.
And
What
also
do you
this
guys think about
Livramento.
Diaby?
I also just want to mention the impact of Livramento. If you see him playing more often at right back, Trippier at left back, he just isn't as creative.
Yeah. But like going back to interviews and, when I was looking into Livramento as a pick, like general consensus was, even the noises coming out from Eddie Howe, that he'll play Trippier in his favored side and he'll just give Livramento a chance as left back, because he did have 3 man of the match performances back to back, did Livramento. So I guess waiting and watching is a good point of view to have. Maybe you can swap him to 17 and think about that, and then optimize the points right now.
And I just want to say here, I haven't ruled out free hit game week 18. I know it's a little, people haven't given it as much thought. I haven't yet ruled it out. And at some point closer to the time, we can discuss why. But I just think that game week 18 screams with great fixtures for Villa. People are selling cash, Diaby. Great fixtures for Newcastle. People are not on Trippier. And great fixtures for Spurs. If Maddison is back by then, there is appeal to it. You don't need to plan for it because most are getting Mbeumo anyway, which is actually a blanker. But it's something that at least it's in my mind. And I'll probably assess next week or the week after if I'm doing it.
It doesn't feel
Question
plus the
again.
problem is, sorry, I'm going back to game week 18, just looking at it. Luton away, I'm not seeing that as great. Tottenham with Everton at home, I'm not seeing the upside fixtures as much. And we'll talk about it on future pause once we get closer to it. I like the Villa fixture, but then again, you'll probably be going to Chris W and Morgan Gibbs White and stuff. Not as
No, but look at it
picks.
this way. You have 2 or 3 Arsenal. They're playing Liverpool. So
Pause. We're the FPL Wire. We say Chris Wood. We don't say Chris W. Go on.
I don't
Yes.
want the pot
So
to be
you
digressed
have to look at
completely.
the points delta, right? So your 3 Arsenal are away to Liverpool. Salah is home to Arsenal. You can argue if it's a great fixture or not, but it's an okay fixture. Your Haaland is blanking. Your Mbeumo is blanking. So that's 7 of your highest EV picks that are basically either blanking or have a very difficult fixture. So it's a question of maybe the upside fixtures are not great, but I'm okay to have, maybe triple Villa, maybe a Moreno. Basically there's high upside players that nobody will. Maddison, Porro, Son, maybe.
Maddison won't be back by then. But I get the point you're making.
Yeah, so could be Lo Celso, could be Richarlison. So, we don't know. What I'm trying to say is there's enough juice there that you could think about it. And always with a free hit, it's about what you do around it. So you can commit more in an Arsenal because you know that you don't need them against Liverpool. You can maybe avoid a Newcastle or a Trippier because you know you'll have him in an 18. So that's the kind of thinking that I was looking at. So there is merit, and there's running a few sort of iterations on my transfers.
But would you need to decide that pretty soon now, so that your transfer strategy
next week or the week after. But then my transfers this week are already actually taking me more towards the free hit, because if I get an Mbeumo, then it's actually I'm getting in a blanker for 18. But at the moment, I'm still okay for 18. So next week, I will probably make the call, or the week after. Between here right now, what would it take for me to free hit? It would take an injury to Watkins or Son or Salah, because these are the 3 upside picks in game week 18. If one of them is out, then my team isn't great at all for 18. And so taking out a Watkins while other people will hold him because they want him for 18, that will then give me a bigger opportunity. But that's all we need to say for it for now. But it is at the back of my head.
But if you're planning for 18, or if you're planning forward, keeping 18 in mind, if you're shopping in the striker market, Solanke at the moment with Forest away in 18 just looks like a good pick, because he's got Sheffield United this week. He's got Villa at home next week. Crystal Palace now, I think, might not be as defensively solid as they used to be, because that's what happened under Roy Hodgson last year also. Once he had these sort of marquee attackers fit, he was a lot more loosey-goosey in attack, which sort of opened up the defense a little bit. Then you got Luton at home in 17 as well. Good run of fixtures for Solanke. So if you're shopping in the market for a striker right now, for somebody who's got a good fixture in 18, that Solanke is somebody who jumps out to me right now. It makes me think again. I just want to ask you guys, what do you do with Diaby?
I think you
Sell
hold
him
him
short
for
term.
the Bournemouth fixture at least, and because I think the Tottenham fixture again is a good one with all their current injuries and the way they played, because it's not a bad fixture for your attackers. During City, Arsenal, Brentford is possibly when you look to sell him.
Correct. And then there's Eze. Again, good entry point. If you can manage to hide him for Liverpool at home, City away, before 17, he's got Brighton at home in 18, which also is a good fixture. So there are picks, and even, if you're somebody who's in the market for a Taiwo, I prefer a Dom Solanke over a Taiwo, but there are picks you can plan for 18 by jumping on right now.
Correct.
So maybe look at if you want to save that chip is what I'm saying.
Two other strikers actually. One, Isak might be fit, and Isak when Wilson is injured is great. One of the best picks. So and he'll be on pens because Wilson isn't around. So Isak, one to watch out for. Obviously, just coming back from injury, so don't have to jump immediately. But he's a good exit. And one low-key budget that you can hide is Edward, that you pick for next 2-3 weeks, and then you hide him for game week 18. You play him in game week 18 against Brighton, and then you hide him for the rest of the weeks around it.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, man, because there's so many picks and everybody's going to swerve dictated by funds almost, because there's no really standout pick at the moment. Maybe waiting and watching and seeing how things pan out in the next couple of weeks, understanding form might be worthwhile.
There's one more forward who's going to be on everyone's radar very soon. Nkunku.
Yeah. Let's talk about Chelsea, because it's the fixtures in my head after game week 14 are good. Brighton home, United away, Everton away, Sheffield United home, Wolves, Palace, Luton. A lot of people are interested. I mean, look at those XG numbers since game week 7, 1.5 or above almost every week, except for Arsenal, which is understandable. The numbers are looking good. The team's looking good. Zoph, talk to us. Is Palmer the best pick? What about people who are keeping half an eye on Raheem Sterling?
I don't think Sterling should be of interest. I think we can possibly start looking at Reece James over the next few weeks. Maybe give him a few more weeks to build fitness. He's got the international break off. He's already attempted more assists than I think the entire backline combined in one game. That they did over 5. The team looks much better with him around. He takes some set pieces also now, which makes him a lot more interesting. I think we can monitor him. Will he miss at the odd game? Probably yes. But we really don't have good upside defenders right now at that price. 5.3, you're getting a lot of upside. So one to monitor there. Sterling,
what is Chelsea's schedule like? If you can go to the schedule table just to see.
Schedule is pretty bad. I think in terms of the later period is bad because it's right after the Carabao Cup also. Later on, I think in game week 17, you have the Carabao Cup game for Chelsea against Newcastle. But then there's a long break till they play Wolves. Then Wolves, Palace and Luton is really close. The first midweek fixtures is not that bad because the games are Brighton, Manchester United and Everton. They're tough games. You'd expect James to play all 3 of these games. It's only when you have the Wolves game, let's say he gets benched against Palace, right? When you have the easier games at home is when we need to worry more about James. And I think he'll probably sit out the Carabao Cup game before that.
Interesting. And also, if Pochettino continues to manage his minutes, giving him 60-70 minute runouts also might work.
Good for early clean sheet lock-ins, right?
Yeah.
Going back
to
Sterling,
Colwill, by the way?
Colwill, I think we don't know yet about how long he was injured. Last game was a shoulder injury. He didn't get called up for England. After that, we haven't really heard more. I don't think it's anything major. Otherwise, it would have been covered more in depth by the Chelsea journal. So he should be back.
Is he clear first choice when fit, Zoph?
I think he plays over Cucurella, yes.
Oh, so you still think he plays left back, not centre back?
No, I think Disasi and Silva is the first choice pairing now. He won't mess around with that. And that gives him what he wants, right? You have the 3 centre backs in possession. James will be given more license to bomb forward that way.
Yeah. Now, just talking again about Chelsea, we were watching Chelsea in preseason, getting really excited about Nkunku. He also was somebody who made Jackson a much better FPL pick than he looked, right? Because he's really good with the interplay inside the box. So if you really think about who Raheem Sterling is going to play around, when it's somebody like Cole Palmer who's shown such good assist potential, when it's somebody like Nkunku who's got good link-up play, there's no brace potential in Raz, you reckon, yet?
I think Raz is going to get rotated, man. Because I don't see like... Mudryk is also an option, and then you could see Nkunku combined with Jackson. I think the immediate impact will probably be in the centre forward position with Jackson's minutes getting dodgy. But with the fixture congestion, you expect Nkunku and Palmer to start more or less every game, assuming they're fit. It's the left wing spot that's going to be up for grabs, because I don't think he'll mess with the balance we've got in midfield now with Enzo,
Yeah.
Caicedo, and Gallagher there.
Nobody
yeah.
else a pick from that Chelsea defense. Is there anybody cheap? Is Thiago Silva?
Colville is pretty
Thiago-
cheap. Colville's are like 4.5, 4.6.
Sanchez and Colville, I think, are the budget guys.
Sanchez also, yeah. Sanchez is very interesting. I mean, at what point are you guys going to say I've had it with West Ham?
After the
swerve to
fixtures
Chelsea?
turn, the fixtures, like you see, are still good. The West Ham are right now in the top 5, top 6 of the ticker. For you have Burnley, Palace, Spurs, Fulham, Wolves, Manchester United. The fixtures are good all the way till 18.
But like, how many clean sheets do you think West Ham get at the next 3? Genuinely, confidently, could you point towards
Three at most.
in the next 3? The next 3.
No, next 3.
Like
I meant
Burnley
next
away
6.
again.
Next
The way
6.
Burnley play, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't clean. Palace also with Eze and Olise is a tough proposition, and Spurs I don't think they clean.
But Fulham are quite poor in attack. Fulham could be a clean sheet, and Wolves you'd expect.
If you're swerving Areola for people that have had it and just see that West Ham aren't a good defense this season, who would you go to? I think Sanchez is the standout, or Raya.
Probably Sanchez. Raya, again, I don't trust him, even though
Yet.
Adam Ramsdale's dad keeps making comments to make Raya's spot more secure. I do think Sanchez is probably the pick, because Palace's fixtures, again, after the first 3 weeks, they go a bit south.
Pras, do you see any other keeper options?
I just think they're all rubbish. So pick the cheaper one and don't expect anything. I mean, you're talking to a veteran who had Ederson last season, who had Pickford early this season. I don't expect clean sheets. I just expect show-ups, appearance points, and the odd save point. So, look, I think, yes, there is this innate need to find this Martinez or a Pope, but some seasons they just don't exist. I mean, so far we don't know if they exist. So I just think Areola has good save potential. He's had, I think, on average 4 saves a game. So I think for me, that's a good base to have a good keeper for 4.2, 4.1, whenever you got him. And until they have good fixtures, there's no reason to use up your precious transfers during Christmas period on them. Unless you're in a luxurious position, like some people were last week, and you are burning a transfer or something. I think Sanchez is the one I would look at right now.
Let's talk about Pickford.
Not rare.
I've been dying to talk about Everton, and I'm sorry to swerve a little bit. But now for clean sheets now, I think now, what do you think we'll see from Everton? Because the data was getting very good on this side. You see for XG conceded non-penalty, they were in the top 3 over the last 6 games. Even the attacking data, they were in the top half. How do you think this is going to impact them as a club? Because this is a historic ruling, right? It could go 2 ways. It galvanizes them, makes their performances better. You see them improve, especially at home. Or the players, obviously, feel a bit dejected. What do you think is going to be the impact? Pras, you first.
I just think they will, given that where they are in the season, they have 3 worse teams than them, even after the point deduction, right? I mean, if you look at the spread markets again by Rob T, they show that Everton are actually not expected to be relegated even now. Their chances are like 30%. The other 3 promoted teams are still, despite the 10 points, more likely to get relegated. So I think they will not be dejected, or we will see something like, completely downing tools or whatever. They'll just continue to do what they do. And I think they will back themselves to survive. And I almost think of it like, we got the penalty in points, and still we managed to survive. So I actually think that they will continue to perform the way they've done, which has been very good actually this season.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because it helps that the next 3 of the next 4 games are at home, and it's United, Newcastle, and Chelsea. It helps lift the crowd. They'll all be fired up. LR, you were saying?
Yeah, it galvanizes them, and they've got an experienced hand like Sean Dyche, managing them. It's not like somebody who's new to the league, etc. I think he's got this. Everton couldn't have picked a better season to get a 10-point penalty.
Completely agree. The bottom 3 sides aren't going to get more points, the promoted sides, than Everton. I back them.
Same.
I don't think it's a bad idea to invest in their defense also. Now, if you need to raise money for a 4.0 guy today, you would probably go Branthwaite over Lascelles. Is he the cheapie?
Yeah. But look at the fixtures.
The fixtures, again, the fact that they're at home is encouraging. It's United, Chelsea, Newcastle at home, and the away are Forest and Burnley. Then it gets a little bit
But then
south.
there's Spurs City also. So
Correct.
You probably look elsewhere if you're looking for a cheapie in the market.
Fair enough. But again, our sympathies are with Everton supporters. It's always very difficult as fans, but we're confident your club will get out of it. And we wish you luck, especially as a fan of a club which might suffer the same fate in a few years.
Yeah. But actually, just imagine if they did it last season. Definitely out.
Definitely.
It's just a good time for, probably the best time for them to announce this potentially for that club. It just works out for them, in my opinion.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
We have a couple of nice
Speaking about
images.
defense,
Go ahead.
Speaking of defense, just this question. Do you sell Matty Cash this week or in 2 weeks?
I think if you have 2 free transfers, you let him go.
And who do you go for?
That's an interesting one. Probably an
Very
Arsenal,
difficult question.
a Newcastle defender. Liverpool, again, will have a bad entry point this week. So you wouldn't really bother, right? Ultimately, the defenses, let's just have a look at the data again really quick. Who are the defenses? Probably Nouri from Wolves. I noticed that game versus Spurs, he was getting really forward.
Do you trust them as a defense? That's the thing.
The
Like,
thing
I've
in
been
easier
thinking
games, they're going to set up very differently. They're much more likely to concede in these easier games because we've seen Gary O'Neill, very horses for courses. He will set his up team to win these matches in a different way. So while clean sheets may be rare, very attacking. I don't mind that. Estupinan probably wouldn't go there. Chelsea, maybe.
Yeah, that's what. So the timing is the thing, right? Because I think there are 4 defenders we'd maybe look at. If I was selling cash this week, the 2 teams I'd probably look at, I think if you buy this week, you buy Saliba. Like, because he's a steady pick for the December Christmas schedule. And you think that, Arsenal being Arsenal and the best defense in the country against Villa, Brighton, Liverpool, they maybe kept 1 clean sheet. If you're lucky, they keep 2 clean sheet and you take that all day, every day. Just by courtesy of nature of the team. I think maybe we need to start think about Virgil van Dijk as well. I think he's a really good pick. I think the fixtures are good clean sheet fixtures coming for Liverpool. And they're, decent middling fixtures that go on right until 21, 22. The point that I've been looking at centre backs, they've been finding good delivery now. Van Dijk's showing good potential on set pieces as well. He's in good form. I just think he's a good pick right now. And if you're waiting, then in a week or 2, you're going to be thinking about either Van Dijk, you're going to be thinking about Botman if he's fit because the fixtures turn good for Newcastle, and you're going to be thinking about Colville, like Colville or James is what, like how Pras mentioned. Yeah, so these are the differences. I just don't know if I trust to go lower than that at the moment.
Options
I
are
agree.
few.
Saliba, James, I would even say Porro. I know we didn't mention Porro, but and a lot of people still have him. I think Zoph still has him. He's taking all the set pieces from Maddison.
Yeah.
So obviously he's got City, so it's not a good entry point. But
It's
in a
Villa
couple of weeks,
this week, City's next week.
Yeah. So in next 2 weeks, you don't want to necessarily go there. But I think after that, you can basically think of holding cash a couple of weeks, and then you turn him into a Porro. My transfer was going to be cash to Saliba, but now that Mitoma is out, I might have to keep cash. And so then this is what I'm thinking, that I'll just go Porro from cash.
Yeah. I was looking at the data, Villa, surprisingly, are second best for XGC in the last 6. But, the thing with Villa is they might not concede that many chances. But the chances they concede are like 2-on-2 or 2 attackers versus 3. They're just big chances when they concede. So it might not be high in volume, but high in quality in terms of chances. That's why I'm just never confident about them keeping clean sheets, because it almost feels like when you're watching them, it's inevitable that they'll score a goal.
And Martinez hasn't been as sharp as he was previously as well.
Yeah. But again, a couple of weeks ago, that stat that we saw from Neil's massive article is that Cash tends to get most of his attacking XG and his points away where he's given a greater license to attack. There's a little bit of a thing to monitor in terms of what happens there, because again, Leon Bailey's shown form. It has me worried about Diaby's expected minutes as well. So does he take Cash's spot? Does he eat into Diaby's minutes? Is something to watch.
I think Diaby is pretty safe in terms of starting the Premier League games because he's again a marquee player.
Yeah.
Just if you buy Zaniolo doesn't play. Right? Zaniolo is the worst man for Villa.
I was talking to FPL Villain, who's in the know with Villa, and a great fan whose opinion. Ramsey's back. He was on course to be fit after this international break, and if that's the case, he's nailed on for that position. It's not going to be Tielemans, it's not going to be Saniola, it's going to be Ramsey in that position, and it just makes Villa a better team.
Going back to the point you made about the away matches, then that way Spurs isn't that bad, right? Because again, you have Cash who's going to be the runner behind that high line, and then you have Bournemouth where he could get chances. You could actually give Cash a couple of weeks.
Just to assess the feel, and in 2 weeks, if you're buying, if Colville looks nailed or Reece James looks like he's fit again, you're going there then instead.
Correct.
Yeah.
In general, what I'm feeling I'm getting is a good week to hold a transfer, especially considering we have a midweek program coming up from 14 on. The fixtures don't look that great to target this week, barring maybe West Ham.
Yeah, but deja vu. So Pras and I have the same dilemma. Decent team, 2 free transfers.
We'll find something.
How else are we going to do minus 15 again this week, Pras? We need to brainstorm on that. Yeah. How long is John Stones fit for?
It's
unfit for.
I don't think he's going to be back this side of the year. Probably next year.
Because Pras, you've been talking about the title race. I'm looking at Liverpool at home, Spurs at home, Villa away for City in the next 3. I think it's the best time for the opposition to play City, given their defensive instability, and nobody really does what John Stones does. And I think it's like Guardiola mustn't have enjoyed that game against Chelsea being so open. Like I think Grealish comes back in, control comes back in.
It's the first 4-4 I think in Pep's career.
Yeah. Mustn't have enjoyed that. Ruben Dias wasn't really good at as well. I think we might see more, pragmatic football from City now after that game.
I mean, I think Chelsea made them play, right? You had no option other than to come out. I do think they will try to emphasize control still. But again, we are seeing that more and more. The games with the big sides, managers are willing to attack now.
Yep.
Let's talk about some of the injuries we've heard crop up over the international break and our thoughts. And if there is any major news, we'll try doing a follow-up pod on Friday. We've gone a bit early this time. Let's talk about the big one first, Haaland, who withdrew from the Norway squad with an injury. The initial news that he might still be available. Is he your guys' current bus captain?
Yep.
And if he's doubtful, I think we would probably still stick with that, right? Because I don't think he's going to come off the bench. Probably, unless he's ruled out, I think the captaincy will stick. Is Salah an option at all?
Yeah, it's a question. Salah is an option, in my opinion. Like we saw that City can be vulnerable. This game has historically given us tons of goals. He's got an excellent record against City as well. I think he has some 9 returns in 12 games or something of that sort.
Mostly off Cancelo though. He used to destroy Cancelo on his side.
Yeah.
I just think Son is right there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You don't need to go
in your
Salah.
position, you chance on Son.
But do you like him over Haaland, Pras? No, right?
No. But if there is still injury doubts, now look, the other thing with Haaland is it's the first game. So with City, we've been blessed, if you can call it that, with certain news before deadlines or before the games. So I'm actually relaxed on Haaland. If we find out that he's not starting or whatever, Son is right there. I think it's a bigger issue for LR if he finds out that Haaland isn't there. Do you captain Salah, or you could even look at Saka maybe? I don't know if you want to go for Brentford, but there's not a lot apart from it. Even Watkins?
Salah. Clear.
I'd go Salah over Watkins, I think. I think probably Haaland, Son, Salah in that order.
Maybe.
See, Liverpool have shown to be top 2 attack comfortably in the league this season. And if you're like me, who doesn't own Son, I think it's just comfortable business. Captaining a Salah who's nailed on to play 90 minutes against a City that have shown to be defensively vulnerable this season.
Pragmatic. You said they'll be pragmatic. So
yeah,
by that logic,
I just feel most comfortable with him if I don't have Son. I still could have Son.
I'm with you.
Yeah, that's all.
Apart from that, Bowen we had mentioned, again, we have to talk about his injury. Now, Southgate said it's not thought to be serious, which people are perceiving is to mean that he's going to be fit for the weekend. I'm not so optimistic. Because if not serious, even if he misses, let's say 2 weeks, is what another manager would call not serious, in which case it would be 4 game weeks in this case. So something we need to monitor.
Mitoma was the exact same thing. I mean, you'll come to him as well. Everybody said, oh, it's an international break injury. He missed the last one as well. Well, it's actually now that he could be out. And Southgate literally just said that we couldn't assess him. It's a training ground injury. And yeah, I mean, we have to monitor, and that does impact people's plans in terms of do they hold, do they not, or if he's fit or not. But as of now, I would guess that he's okay.
Correct.
Just on these names that you mentioned, right? A lot of people were sort of overreacting to Heung-min Son after the performance against Fulham, calling him an immediate sell. Based on the discussion we had today, he's not a sell, and he might even be a buy. Is where we are at, given for this congested period. And just assume that David Moyes tells us on Friday that Bowen's fit, or we get images that he's trained and everything's normal and it was just a precautionary thing. Like, the matchup is really good for Bowen, and the sort of underlying numbers sort of add up to that as well, because Burnley are the team that have conceded the most number of goals at home, and at home they will come out to play. And it's West Ham are going to sit back and enjoy a team like Burnley. They're going to concede 2-3 goals. There are chances for multiple returns. Bowen has shown to be a better asset this season away. He scored all his goals away, if I'm not mistaken. Most of the goals away. He's second only to Erling Haaland for away underlying data, for away goals, etc. All of that. So the matchup is sort of tailor-made.
Yeah, probably fourth best pick maybe for captain.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, Bowen, I think both his goals at home have been corners. Sorry, go ahead.
If a scenario arises that I have to pick between Salah and Bowen, given both are fit, I don't think it's that straightforward. Like, you could probably consider chasing upside with Bowen.
I agree.
Yeah.
What else do we have to cover, guys? Do you want to talk us through the couple of charts you sent me, Pras, the FPL radar ones?
Yeah, so actually, it's a little bit of a minutes discussion, so I forgot to bring it up at that point. But these guys are putting out really good charts, so I thought we should showcase a couple of them. So this is from Under the Radar. It's a podcast by three friends in the US who we are friends of the pod, and I know them very well. And so they've been producing these charts, and this one I thought was really, really good. As we're getting into the congested period, looking at essentially non-pen XGI, so it could be goals, assists, so underlying data compared to the minutes per appearance, on who are the guys who have more minutes and good underlying. And essentially the players that stand out in this bracket, in this busy period: Haaland, Salah, Mbeumo, Watkins, who I think a lot of people we've talked about as part of the pod. There's Son and Saka in there as well. Now, Son and Saka haven't got the same minutes thus far as well as the XGI, but then we know what Son is, and we know that Saka has been going through a few niggles. So hopefully Saka's minutes actually go up, even though it's a busier period. But these are the guys. And then you obviously have your Mr. Jackson, who's been playing well, but we don't know how his minutes will look beyond the time when Nkunku comes back. So what you're then playing with in this chart is the players who are on the left, top left, are players who are as good as a Salah, as good as a as good as a Watkins or a Haaland, if they get minutes. So this is where Darwin Núñez comes in, where somebody like a late riser says, look, I'm not believing this past minutes of 56 minutes per appearance. I am going to take a punt that he's going to get 70, 80 minutes per appearance, hopefully. And then he basically moves to the right of this chart. So very beautifully explained that if Núñez actually gets 80, 90 minutes, he would be up there above even Salah in this chart. So similarly, we talked about Isak. Isak is now coming in.
What's Wilson's injury timeline?
He's out for 6 weeks.
6 weeks, wow.
So the whole Christmas period. So this is where Isak suddenly becomes an amazing pick if he's starting every single game, better than an Mbeumo, better than a Salah, better than a Watkins on paper, obviously. And so this is what this chart does really, really well. Then you can also sort of start to question, because this is obviously minutes played, which is a historical number, in terms of what do I think will happen in the future if certain things happen. So, Palmer's numbers here are reflected of the fact that he didn't play the first few games. He was subbed in or off. Will he actually be a 60 minutes guy? I think the more recent discovery is that he probably is higher. So if he is around 80 minutes, then you're looking at an Alvarez type player in terms of XGI, in terms of number of minutes. And this is what this is trying to do. So anything else that jumps out to you guys?
Solanke is someone interesting as well. I think he's going to creep up this table now. The fixtures improve. Minutes are quite secure. Bowen is somewhere who's right there, just about to creep into the top bracket. I think again.
While you're on Solanke, like it's worth mentioning that, while he was sort of playing the ancillary striker role last season, he's the tip of the attack now. Like if you move into the XG data chart also, Zoph, which is produced by the same guys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the talisman
Yes,
chart, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Like, look at the percentage XG. Let me just open it up because I can't see the screen right now.
I've enlarged. It should be easier for you.
Yeah, so Solanke is like 40% of the XG created by Bournemouth.
It's a huge chunk, right? And so,
Big chunk.
it's this big chunk. So it's just the guys on the right who sort of match with the guys on the top right quadrant of the previous chart that we saw, just jump out as picks. Solanke is one of those. Bowen, not as high as we probably think him to be. He's sharing the underlying data with
That's because Souček
his
gets
counter.
such high XG chances, right? Like we were discussing earlier, pods, all 6-yard box chances.
I mean, that second goal that they scored, he basically pushed Bowen away and headed the ball. I don't know if you saw that goal, the one he scored against Forest. But
you see the injury he picked up on international duty?
Who, Souček?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't an injury per se. It's not because he's available fit. He basically had his foot completely come on his head trampled on by somebody else's foot. He's got a scar running right down his forehead.
Right.
Yeah. Just look at it. Just quickly browse through the charts. If you're having Salah and Nunes in place, you're probably having 75% of Liverpool's attacking points, is what this chart tells you. Palmer is a very healthy chunk, if you really think about that, and that's obviously down to the penalties. Yeah. City. This chart tells you everything you need to know about Manchester City. Like Haaland is just highest percentage. Aston Villa, the thing that jumps out to me is that Luis and Cash both have a higher XG than Diaby at the moment as things stand. So something to note, Newcastle again, it's the striker that gets the points in that team.
If you combine Wilson and Isak as one guy who's starting every minute, that's what you get from a Newcastle attacker, if you have it.
Zoph, when the team sheets came out against Bournemouth, were you happy or sad that Gordon was playing striker?
I wasn't happy.
It's almost like Bowen's.
It is very much similar position, right? And in general, the vibe I got, especially from the whole midweek thing, I wasn't very optimistic about that. Because I would have much rather they got a result midweek, because the general vibe around Newcastle, I think, has been a bit concerning.
Yeah, international break came at a great time for them because they were down.
2 weeks rest for Gordon because Southgate didn't call him up.
Yeah. Look at Bumo also. Huge chunk of that XG down to pens as well. Arsenal tells you a story, doesn't it?
It does.
There's no talisman. That's how they're designed to play this season, where they're not as attacking as they were last season, and they're distributing their XG.
Should we talk segue to Saka? This is some data he sent me on Saka. Let's just quickly touch upon that. Yep.
Yeah, just like he looks like he's maybe showing signs of coming back to his best since the last 2 weeks or so. But this is his XGI game-wise. Look at the first 7-8 games. Healthy percentage of games with a base of 0.36, 0.37 XGI. Some games where he exploded with 1+1 XG. And then there is the last 4 games, 0.16 XGI versus Chelsea, 0.06 versus Sheffield United, 0.27. Then again trending upwards, 0.53 versus Burnley. So, Pras, you told me that do you captain a Saka against Brentford? I just don't have the confidence. This chart combined with the one that we saw previously, that's why maybe thinking of selling Saka also, because if Spurs show some signs of not being as shit as they displayed against Wolves, which I don't think is going to be the case, Son is just the better pick.
That's
I mean, between the two, I think we agree that Son is the better pick. But is Saka the 4th best pick or 5th best pick? Also probably true.
Yeah, because you have Wolves and Luton, right, coming right after this Brentford game for Saka.
Not easy defenses to break through. Not teams that are going to open up the carpet for you and say, score.
Because even against Burnley, the XG wasn't that great. They scored primarily with the set pieces. An open play, Burnley very much gave them a game.
Like, again, the dilemma in all of this is, and it's almost like you want to wait and watch and see what happens for 2 weeks, is because Gabriel Jesus is fit. Gabriel Jesus being fit makes that attack click. Like, I have to sell Martinelli and I'm feeling nervous about selling him because Jesus is fit. So much to consider.
I just think, man, top 4 team, penalty taker, 90 minutes. Certain decisions, right? I mean, we do try to micromanage our team sometimes. And I feel, I mean, you don't have him. So I know that you're going through that and I understand it completely. But for people who have them, those are not the decisions you need to be making at the moment. Like, should I take out a nailed top 4 attacker who was on pens?
Yeah, but I'm somebody who bought into top 4. It's top 4 team, firstly. I don't think it is top 5 attack this season so far. It's top 4 team. I bought into that because they were facing Sheffield United and Burnley at home, and I'm sitting on 1 assist from both my attackers combined. Whereas Jared Bowen has gone and scored 2 goals.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
So I get it.
Like, at what point do you sit and it's something that Pat Cummins said in the post-match interview
Do
is
we
that
have
the
to go
attitude
back
should.
there?
But
Just
it's
about
something.
forgetting it. Go ahead.
It stuck out to me is that you're not going to get the World Cup. You need to go out there and win the World Cup. So how passive can we be with attacking? I understand that a lot of when it comes to 40, 60 picks decisions between all these midfielders. There's essentially 40, 60 decisions. A lot of that is going to come down to variance. But do you let the variance play you or you try to play the variance? And that's the question.
Yep.
Fair. And I think this is a good chart to discuss a Saka dilemma because, and for the listeners, basically this is game week 13, 14, 15 to 20. And this is the chart that we had done, I think, in game week 8 when we were debating that, look, this is a time where captaincy is going to become big. There's 6 big hitters in this game. So we've included Trippier here this time. And we have to debate on who do we sacrifice. And captaincy is a big part of it. So Saka doesn't appear once in the next 7 weeks. So this I give you. Like, there is not a week where you have to have Saka. Maybe the Luton week in game week, in game week 15. But then in game week 15, when Saka plays Luton away, you have Salah playing Sheffield United away and Son playing West Ham at home, and Haaland playing Villa's high line. So it's not an
Saka
obvious
just
pick
needs
anywhere.
to change massively for me to even consider him as a captaincy option today, is where I am. Like, I'd rather bet on a Salah versus Liverpool versus City than a Saka versus a Sheffield United. Or that's like a conversation to have. Like, I don't feel confident in the Saka. I don't feel confident putting the armband on him. And that's been we've had the conversation last week also, right, Zoph, when you were debating when you want to get Saka or not. I just don't feel confident about him right now. He's trending upwards. He just needs to show that consistently for 2 weeks and I'm there.
Makes sense. But I do think at home, Saka is a different animal. At a home fixture, I'd still think I would back him. He could have gotten a goal against Burnley. The other one good attempt that was saved. But yeah, it's all about Jesus, man. What Jesus does.
What are his routes to points, right? It's a 1-2 with somebody on that side and he's getting a shot from maybe just outside the D. He's not placing himself in the center of the box as frequently as he used to last season. That has changed. He's wider than he was last season. He's more winger than inside forward this season. There's a tactical shift that has happened. Maybe that changes once Odegaard is back again and Jesus is back again in game week 13. The two big boys that are going to supplement and improve their attack, man, and it's going to be tough selling Martinelli. It's because Odegaard and Jesus back. Like, big players.
Odegaard was out just for concussion.
Yeah.
So he'll be back after the international break for sure.
They still pulled him out from international duty.
Yeah.
I mean, but route to points is important, right, Eller? I mean, they are also a team that is getting a lot of set piece goals, including corner goals. He's on corners, on penalties. He will get the goal. He still get, the points are still trickling in. So,
and I expect him to overperform his underlying data because he's bloody good. Yeah. Like, I don't expect that to change either. Yeah.
Good. We've covered everything, guys. Should we move on to our bus teams?
Just quickly move to that chart, that Arsenal chart. Just let's go through the.
Sure. And I think captaincy, I think we've covered captaincy. Anything more to cover there?
No, I think we've covered it. We'll just summarize it quickly. Not this one's off, the XG break chart.
The talisman thing?
Yeah.
There we go.
Can you just quickly.
Again, we want to give a shout out to FPL Under the Radar. Guys do great work. Give them a follow on Twitter and listen to their podcast. Go ahead, Ella.
Yeah, man. Just Brighton, right? Brighton says the same story that an Arsenal does. Where you combine that with rotation for Disabi also and you get the same story. Son, when Madison was there, was a story. Oh, a lot of people, I mean, from our Discord was saying this... Brennan Johnson doesn't really have competition 5.8 million midfielder. What do you guys reckon?
Is he fit? I know he
Fixtures?
went off with an injury, but yeah, decent pick for sure this period.
Very decent pick.
Yeah. Doucouré has been doing a fab job with the fixtures, toughen up. Then nobody else really worth
But
talking about.
Doucouré, I think the above average guys. I think I want to mention one more thing on Everton. Mykolenko. What's been happening there over the last 3 game weeks, and the above average
Attacker.
guys I've theorized is because of Dwight McNeil. McNeil is dropping deeper, which is allowing Mykolenko a lot of license to get forward. The numbers have been incredible the last few weeks. And Doucouré is now playing his full second bastard. Like how Sean Dyche likes with his 2 strikers. He's playing more of I think the Ashley Barnes role.
Yeah.
Him and Bowen, man, top shots from inside the 6-yard area.
Him and Souček, you mean?
Bowen and Doucouré.
6-yard area? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes. And you brought up that 5'10" guy. Moisey actually called out his heading ability in the post-match presser as well, saying that he's been seeing that in the training and he's a much better header of the ball than people give him credit for, etc. I mean, think of the goals also. That Liverpool goal also, weird goal coming ahead and then heading it into the corner as well. He's been doing that fair amount of times this season.
It helps.
A lot of big chances he's missed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No. That's it. Solanke, talisman, proper talisman.
Yeah. Wish we could get to Solanke, man. He's going to get so many points in the next 5
He's going to get a lot of points.
And I think the team is clicking now. They've had some difficulty under the new manager, but now I think he's finally getting his philosophy because they looked good against Newcastle. I think they would have given most teams a game that day.
Yeah.
Right. Bus teams, this is the one with Maguire sitting pretty. That's you, LR.
Yeah, man. Disappointed. Fall into the new toy syndrome and didn't start him against Luton compared to Livramento, but it is what it is.
Interesting that you're benching him and playing.
No, I'm playing him over Livramento.
Yeah,
I'm playing him over Livramento as things stand. It's Areola, Cash, Gabriel, Maguire, Saliba, Salah captain, bus team captain. It's going to be Haaland. It's just because he had the flag right now. That's it. Salah, Diaby, Martinelli, Watkins, Haaland, and Darwin. Sitting on 2 free transfers.
It's a tough game to go to Goodison Park though. After just having the news, the crowd are going to be fired up.
Yeah. So that's where I am. Do I sell Cash for a Saliba this week is something I'm considering. Do I sell Martinelli with Gabriel Jesus and Odegaard back for a Bowen is something I'm considering. If I don't do that, how do I use my free transfer is something I'm wondering about.
How much money in the bank?
0.1, 0.2-ish.
So I don't think you can do Cash to Saliba straight. Depending on what price you got Cash for.
I can afford Saka and Martinelli to Son and Palmer as well.
I think you let your Arsenal guys sit because you have the next 2 fixtures that are good. I think Cash out is the one that makes sense to me. Pras, what do you think?
I mean, I'm going to say something that is usually unnegotiable for LR, which is Darwin out.
Darwin. Yeah. So with Darwin out, right? My theory in that is, again, I am fairly confident he starts against City, no matter what happens. And I get the proposition of early news as well. After that, the next 2 games are Sheffield United and Fulham. If he's rested in the Europa League game, I'm expecting minutes and a start in the Sheffield United game, which is a very high upside game for a differential like Darwin Núñez. So I want to hold him. Wait, is it Sheffield first or is it? It's Fulham at home. Fulham at home. And it's the Europa League game before that. I think he's first choice, which is why he probably plays limited minutes in the Europa League game and gets Fulham at home. And I want him as a differential in that game. I think he's a better pick than most people. So that's where the dilemma is. And I think Klopp might be thinking about that because I think he might have planned how he's going to rotate his strikers in this period. That's what I'm.
Yep, it's tricky. I mean, even if you get 130 minutes or 140 minutes against Sheffield United and Fulham, that's amazing. So I get the upside pick.
Yeah, because the Arsenal guys are getting the minutes, but they're not getting the data. They're not getting the chances. It's frustrating watching them. I probably need to, talk to the Discorders in our Arsenal chat and ask them how they see things.
Jesus, have faith in Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus and Odegaard, yeah.
Defense is where you need to focus. I think
If
Cash.
Bowen is fit,
easy.
I think I objectively make the Martinelli to Bowen move. I just think he's a better pick. I back him for this period.
That's also fair. I'd probably
Yeah.
do that. I wouldn't do the Darwin thing. I think you've got him now. He's your big differential there. Either Martinelli or Cash out.
And again, right, Darwin got 2 offside goals. Like, I don't think he's that far away from returns. I wrote in notes after watching that game as well. Be patient with him. He's going to get you a goal with 3
Wait,
returns.
I just
Game
realized
with
you
3
can't even
returns
buy
soon.
Saliba because you already have the 3 Arsenal guys, obviously.
Martinelli.
Yeah, you have to do 2 then. You have to use both transfers, which I don't like. I want you to keep 1 transfer for next week.
And hope, when it happens in a situation like this, it's more
You can
often
even
than not
afford to do
the
Cash to a guy who does a rubbish fixture this week and play Livramento and Gabriel.
Yeah, but why would I do that? Yeah. Then I'd much rather just chance with Cash.
Okay, it's a 2 free transfer thing again, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know yet.
Right.
More often than not, in the international break, the news will make the moves for you rather than you making the moves.
Yeah. Let's see what Friday brings. This is my team. Ariola, Cash, Kabore.
Wait. You're starting Kabore.
Yes, who am I going to start? My bench is Botman and Simikas. I told you, my defense has been a shambles. And I'm literally not bothering, man. There are literally no points in defense this year. I've just been rolling with this and I might luck out with Botman fit. I remember you guys have been talking about Botman possibly playing. That's been getting me excited, but I'm still not that optimistic on that. I'm cooling my jets a little bit. So yeah, Ariola, Cash, Kabore, and Poro. That's my defense. Salah, Son, Saka, Gordon, Diaby in midfield, Haaland, Cap, and Watkins. Just pretty much Archer as a playable sub. I think it's only 1 free transfer, 0.0 in the bank. I think it's an easy roll.
Yeah, roll makes sense.
Not much to unpack. I really hope Botman is going to be fit, man. That would be like a Reece James thing I did a couple of years ago. You left him on the bench for 8 weeks and he just comes back. Pras, this is you.
I'm expecting that to happen.
Botman could come back anytime. I mean, because in his case, if it's surgery, then it's a long term. But I think the latest news is that he may not need surgery, so it could mean a couple of weeks. It could be in an optimistic scenario.
Fingers crossed. Your team, Pras. Why don't you read out?
So Ariola in goal, Gabriel, Gehi, Livramento. I'll talk about the defense in a second, and then Saka, Son, Salah, Mitoma, Palmer, and then Haaland and Watkins. So team doesn't look great this week. So my plan was always to do Nketiah to Archer this week. So that's still the plan. I mean, I could have done Nketiah to Solanke, but then I don't like having such heavy 8 attackers with very good fixtures. So I'm going to actually downgrade Nketiah to Archer. Use that transfer. That's fine. Nketiah got me the points. I'm happy to use a transfer.
Play Archer over Mitoma?
Archer over Palmer. And Mitoma will become Boomer.
Oh, so you do 2 transfers.
So I'll have to make 2 transfers this week for sure. And if Mitoma is fit, let's say the Andy Naylor thing is false, then I was gonna do Cash to Saliba like LR. So it was gonna be these 2 transfers. So it's probably be Mbeumo a week early and Nketiah to Archer.
I mean, you can just do one. They don't have to do the Nketiah to Archer, right? You can fund Mitoma to Mbeumo directly.
Don't think so actually.
How much you have in the bank?
0.2. So yeah, I'll be short by 0.1, I think.
Okay, yeah, I think he's 6.8 now. Yeah. Then I understand that. Otherwise, you could have possibly done one and see what next week.
Yeah, but Nketiah is gonna drop, and I don't need him. Like Jesus is fit now, so there is absolutely no. I mean, I'll have to use that transfer at some point anyway, and there's nobody better than Archer. So
that's fine. Yeah, it gives you a good sub this week in case something random happens.
Yeah.
Don't bench Palmer, man.
Palmer is fine, man. He'll be okay from next week. Next week he plays every week. It's Newcastle. I respect Newcastle too much. I'm starting Livramento for that reason.
Yeah, but he's just whatever the fixture is a better pick than Archer.
To be clear, that's my last decision. It will be Archer versus Palmer, but I'm just waiting to see what news is there before actually scratching my head and debating between the two.
Plus is in use and throw mode, remember?
You guys, by the way, I have to say this. In the last pod, I didn't join. You're like, he has this golden touch, he has this, Nketiah bench, Mitoma bench, and who was my third? Livramento bench. Basically, my 3 star players, all benched.
But we were talking about the golden player with respect to Eze. Is the player you told us that you were going to buy last week. What happened with Eze, Pras?
He got a pen within like 20 minutes. But look, I didn't do that. But yeah, all my differentials didn't work. So this week, yeah, I'm backing Livramento. So everyone who has Livramento, that's my golden pick of the week.
Yeah, but we weren't talking
Hmm.
about your golden touch with regards to football.
I know cricket, right?
Oh, you haven't been monitoring the chat, Pras. There are more fans. You,
Yeah.
I think Pras went on mute conveniently.
Yeah, and I've given up on the chat.
Right. Cool. I think that's it from us. Decisions. None of us know what really we're going to be doing by the end of the week. If significant news emerges, you could probably see a pod from us on Friday. Short pod, maybe summarizing stuff. But until then, any last words, boys?
Nothing much. Congratulations to Australia again. Not much
Somebody
else to
needs
say.
to plug the Discord.
Oh yeah.
I mean, next time we'll do it in the middle of the pod. But now I'm gonna just say if you guys can like the video, I think there's 500 plus people watching and not enough likes. So if you can do that, and yes, the Discord we will tell you guys all about it because we'll have our winner after next week as well on our monthly prizes for the Discord league.
But 7 game weeks coming up in a month. Good to be around people that are talking FPL all the time. Good time to join the Discord.
Yeah. The
Become a
price
member
changes time,
or-
man. You guys are late risers. So you should be around the Discord during the price changes. Before every
Yeah.
price changes, there's panic. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're an early riser, right? That's why I'm sleeping by then. I think LR is sleeping as well.
Yeah, it's just off.
It's amazing. Joshua, I love you. It wouldn't be the same without you. Right. Let's
Arsenal
wrap up.
fans, let me know what to do with Nelly. Please, I'm confused.
Done. Fantastic talking to you guys. Feel back in FPL mode. Hopefully, no further injuries over the next couple of days. And we get the all clear on Friday from all of our players. Let's wrap up. See you
Indeed.
guys next week.
Okay.